Hello, everyone. Jax West from Steven Avery Project, Justice with Jax, and MAM Gossip on Facebook, as well as Justice with Jax here on YouTube. Every Wednesday, we're trying to go live at 1 p.m. Central Time, my time, Chicago time, to cover different cases. And today we are going to be talking about Steven Avery. Hey, Bryce. Sup, cat? The Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey case that was featured on Netflix's Making a Murderer, which is something I have been covering since Netflix came out with the documentary in December of 2015, was it? So I have done so many lives over the years. You can find them on Steven Avery Project on Facebook. We also have things here in the Justice with Jax YouTube where we did some of the phone calls and whatnot. We have done multiple viewings of Making a Murder where we watched it together and I talked over it as we viewed it. And then I have taken various field trips where we have gone to the places of interest in the case. So you can find those, some of them here, some of them on Facebook. So go into our different folders or whatever they call it to find those. I took zero notes and did zero planning for today's live because, like I said, I've done it so many times. And I know this case very well, but then also a lot of things that I learned at some point I have forgotten over the years because there's just so much information. I strongly recommend people do their own research on the case. It's something I am always bothered by when people who think that Stephen and or Brendan are guilty are referred to in the Making a Murderer community as guilters. And it always bothers me when guilters will say you're just swayed by a documentary that didn't show both sides and left out information. You're absolutely right. The documentary did leave out a lot of information. And when you do that falling down that rabbit hole, you find even more information that shows that Stephen and Brendan are both innocent. There are people that may think Stephen is guilty and Brendan is innocent, or vice versa. But everything points to both of these men, who are men at this time, are innocent. Yeah, Kat, it's I've watched Making a Murderer, I don't know how many times, both versions, and I'm like, I can't do it again right now. So I'm like, I'm just gonna wing this one. I know this YouTube channel is still very new and we don't have the tons of followers and or subscribers, which Christopher nags me that I have to remind everyone to please subscribe to the channel because I guess it'll be easier for people to find these videos if you have the more subscribers. So just click subscribe or whatever, blah blah blah. If I do a live on Facebook, I get thousands of people that are on there when I'm live that are giving me a ton of different questions. And then when I go live here on YouTube, I love y'all because you're the most dedicated supporters that are always here, that have been with me forever. But we don't get the tons of questions like I do over on Facebook. But Facebook, currently I'm not in Facebook jail. I'm in Facebook restriction where I still have 40 something days until I can even do live videos there. But even when I'm off restriction, I'm still just going to continue to do the videos here on YouTube because I don't foresee me getting in trouble over here, I think. Um, so I wanted to do this live more free flowing where people could ask questions on the case because I wanted to cover this case, the first one of the year, because every year when we go on this winter break, when people are home and we're also in the pandemic, on Stephen Avery Project, we get so many messages a day, tons and tons of messages that are sent to the page, and also then people who comment on the page who have just watched Making a Murderer for the very first time. So, and we'll have people who will post on the page as well as send us messages going, I think you should look at that guy. Like, this is one we just got the other day. I think people should be looking into that guy that said the fire was really high. Now, a lot of times you'll have people who have been involved in the case forever who will then jump on that person and go, duh, been there, done that. We all know Scott Taddock is guilty, blah, 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 blah. But I have to remind people all the time of these people just watched it and they haven't done this research. So back to what the guilters say, when I first watched Making a Murderer, I had not even heard of it because I literally watched it the weekend Netflix put it up. And so I knew nothing of the case, nothing, nothing, nothing. And so then when I was done watching it, I then started searching the internet for everything I could find on the case, on where is it now, eh, and wanting to know more. And just the more I looked at, the more showing the injustice that happened. I have to turn my fan on because I am so warm. But I will turn it on low to try and prevent the noise. But sorry, I am warm. I am always warm, even though it's really cold here. But I'm in a tank top and shorts in my house because I'm that warm. Um, there is StephenAveryCase.org where you can find a lot of the transcripts, the interrogations. There's so much to be had there. So I really, really recommend people doing their own research. Now, I will not debate guilters. So Stephen Avery Project on Facebook and MAM Gossip and Justice with Jax, all the pages that I run, I'm not going to suffer fools. People are entitled to their opinions, but I believe in their innocence, and I am not going to argue with people over it. Because a lot of people who are guilters, they're basically trolls and just want to get into that debate. Not going to do it. So there's plenty of other pages and YouTube channels and all that where you can go and express that kind of thing. It is not my job or responsibility. Nana! Nana wants you to thumbs up. It's not my responsibility to convince you of their innocence and to fight this battle. If I was to come across any information, I have said this a million times, to show these guys guilt, I absolutely would say it. There is nothing for me to gain by advocating for Steven and Brendan's innocence. And it's actually cost me a lot of hardship over the years. People go after me pretty hardcore because I am one of the few. I don't actually know of another one who believes in their innocence that is not a kiss up to the Avery family. That is not me. When I first came across Making a Murderer and when I went to the salvage yard, there are pictures, you can find it on Stephen Avery Project, etc., from my times of going to the salvage yard. There were times that I was in good relationships with the various family members. But as you look more into the case, you find that other than Dolores and Alan, Stephen's parents, and then Kim Ducat, Stephen's cousin, the family members that you see in the documentary and that you can find having their own groups and such on Facebook and YouTube are not really looking out for Stephen and Brendan's best interests and may have something to do with the actual crime. So, to many people, especially if they're new to the case and they have so much sympathy for the Avery family, they take issue with me because I will point out things like I still have the notes here on my desk because I have the visitors list of Stephen and Brendan's from the time they've been in prison for 10 years, from 2010 to 2020. And so this family did not visit these people, Brendan and Stephen, until basically Making a Murderer came out and was a success. Other than Dolores would go visit her son, and Alan went some. So in the 10 years, Dolores visited Stephen 62 times, and Alan visited Stephen 44 times. Barb visited her son far more often, but she's also considerably younger than her parents and easier for her to go. Barb visited Brendan 433 times. Barb visited Stephen 4 times in those 10 years. So, and then there's so much more drama that, there's my mom. I don't change my, my language or behavior because my mom is here. So never fear. um, I'm not going to get into the dirt. Yay, another Debbie's here. Debbie show. I'm not going to get into all that drama unless any of y'all and most of the people other than my mom who are here know the family drama. So unless a question is posed to me on more of the family drama, I'm not going to get into it. But let's just say over the years, I have been threatened by multiple Avery family members. So again, with the if there was anything that said Stephen or Brendan were guilty, I absolutely would say it. The family hates me. I used to talk to Brendan on the phone. Oh yeah, we still need to do a family tree. We've talked about that I would do on a race board behind me or whatever because the whole Avery family thing is so confusing. You're right. Um I used to talk to Brendan on the phone until his mother told him lies about me. I used to talk to Steven on the phone and then started visiting him until what's her face? What's her name? Sandra Greenman and some others told him lies about me. So it would be so much easier for my life if I was, like, thinking these guys were guilty or whatever and just shutting everything down and not discussing this case or doing anything at all, because 'cause I'm constantly attacked, but I strongly believe in Stephen and Brendan's innocence, so that's why I'm here. Let me pull out, as I always gotta do, pictures. This is my very first visit with Stephen. Let me which I thought I was being very clever by wearing a Free Melissa shirt. Melissa Kaluzinski. Is that the only one I have? No. Oh. That's the same. Oh, and another visit with Steven. I didn't always get a picture every visit we went on, that I went on. So, um, I haven't heard from Steven again in he called me after his mom died. Nope, Bryce, you've been on these lives so many times, so you've been there, done that, and heard everything already before. Um, so when Steven's mother, Dolores, died, s- somebody messaged me saying that Steven wanted me to post on Steven Avery Project that Dolores had died, and that was before anything was in the news. Um, and sorry, just had to delete somebody's whatever message that is. And do I need to? Okay. Um, oh, Bryce, I'm hilarious. So there's always new jokes. So you probably missed something. um, sorry, now a thing popped up about me deleting that one person's whatever it was that they posted. And now I've lost track of where I was. So, but should we dive into the case, because I know there's people who will be watching this not live. So I guess I need to do some actual covering of the case and not talking about my drama around it, right? So Stephen Avery, when you watch Making a Murderer, I'm going to assume anybody who is going to, oh my God, freezing there in Scotland. See, now I'm going to get distracted again. It is really cold here in Chicagoland and really windy, and I have to do an outdoor event tomorrow that is going to be 10 degrees. So, yay. Um, if you so I'm assuming everybody who watches this will have seen Making a Murderer. So I don't really need to go over the case so much. I just need to try and help fill in some holes. But there is so much more information than you get from the documentary. To and there's just the thing that I always tell people or ask people is, what would Steven's motive be? He was in a relationship, in love with the drunk Jody, who wanted him to be romantic. So even though she was in jail for getting caught drinking again, he's in love. And he was about to come into, what was it, $200,000 that he was going to be getting in December. And this alleged crime they're claiming happened on Halloween. Um, so he was going to be getting like $200,000. I'm really bad with numbers, so I don't remember that. Um, so he was about to get $200,000. That's on top of his $36 million wrongful conviction suit was currently in depositions. So he was about to get a ton of money. He has a girlfriend, and he's got this lawsuit that he was wrongfully convicted on the Penny Bernstein case. There's no question on that. Zero question. So chances are pretty freaking good that maybe he won't get 36 million, but he's going to get a nice payday. So yeah, he served time for a crime he didn't commit that could make you all angry. But his life at that time is good. What could possibly repay what he's lost? Nothing. But I can only tell you in my personal experience with Steven, the times I talked to him on the phone and the times I visited him, he was always thinking just around the corner. And this is after the Teresa Hallbach, that right around the corner, he's going home. and keeping that positive outlook. Not saying he doesn't ever think negatively or get angry, because if anybody deserves to be angry, it's him. But back when this Teresa Hallbach goes missing, there is zero motive for Steven to have done this. Steven's family are, I mean, you can look them up, their own records and things that have gone on there. Um his nephew, Bobby Dassey, the real killer. Um Bobby was selling drugs out of the salvage yard, was selling pot. His soon to be stepfather, Scott Taddock, also had something to do with the pot. The pot. Now I sound like an old, well, I am an old person. Are you smoking the pot? And then he was also stealing car parts and selling them. And Steven wanted to stay as far away from that as he could, because he wasn't going to put himself in any situation that could put him back in prison. And so he and Barb would fight, because he would say that her kids aren't going to amount to anything. And he'd be very upset at things that Bobby was doing. So to try and say that he's now angry and twisted because of being wrongfully convicted, when he's in love and coming into a bunch of money. And then they try to say that he's the killer because he had pink fuzzy handcuffs in his room. Now, I'm not going to get into all your bedrooms. How many of you have played with handcuffs? And Steven's own sister had the same handcuffs. They bought them together. So if you're going to try and say that Steven is this sexual deviant because he's got these handcuffs, well, so did his sister that Scott Toddock was having an affair with, because Barb had been married to Scott Toddock's cousin, Tom Yonda. So Scott Toddock obviously would have access to these handcuffs. So would Bobby Dassey. So, but they're not saying that, looking at these people like they're guilty. How many of the Avery brothers, Chuck and Earl, have been charged with things that, when you look at, these are sexual deviants? They wanted to look at Steven's computer and looking for porn, and to try and say that porn is proof that he would murder some woman. And again, Teresa Hallbach has never been recovered. There was never anything that said that these alleged bones that were found behind Steven's garage in various places are even 100% Teresa Hallbach. And everything is fruit of the poison tree, because how many times do you watch a show and when evidence is found, they put those little yellow flags with, marking number 1 to whatever, and they take pictures of? There are 0 pictures of the bones being on the property. And they claim the reason they don't take these pictures is because Steven's German Shepherd was chained up out there. No, no. That's investigator 101. You take pictures of the evidence where it is. That's so I'm not one of the people that believes Teresa Halbach is still alive, but I just say we don't know what happened to her. So nobody knows if she was raped. Nobody knows if she was shot. Nobody knows if she was stabbed. Nobody knows what happened to her. All you know that allegedly after Halloween, nobody has ever seen or talked to her again. That's all we know. And so if you're going to point fingers saying that it happened at Avery Salvage, those fingers point at the star um um what's the word I'm looking for? Witnesses, Scott Taddock and Bobby Dassey, who were real quick to go, we were right there at that time. We passed each other on the road and we know exactly what time it was. And Scott Taddock is saying he was there and saw the fire this high. And Bobby is saying he saw Teresa there. And then he takes what was that, a 15-second shower? I don't know. And by the time he gets out of the shower to go hunting during the day, that she was walking to Steven's house. There's no evidence of any of that. What there is evidence of is what Bobby Dassey, the killer, had on his computer. That the family will try to point the finger still at Steven for what is on Bobby's computer, because they say Steven could have gone in Barb's trailer to go look at that disgusting stuff that was on that computer. Steven didn't go in Barb's house. And if you're going to look up porn and disgusting stuff, wouldn't you look in your own home? Jody is in jail. He's got the place to himself. So why would you do it at Barb's house? Everything shows when these things were put on the computer is only when Bobby Dassey was there. So the family can try and argue that it wasn't Bobby's computer. But it was in Bobby's room. Sure, other people had used it. Brendan had used it. Barb had used it. But the times that these disgusting things of children being decapitated and raped, there's a folder with Teresa Halbach's name on it. All happened when only Bobby Dassey is there because he works a night shift. Bryce, did I see? Bryce, I actually talked to that witness a year or so ago, and I put her in contact with Kathleen Zellner, and then Kathleen sent her investigator to go talk to her. There's a lot more to that person's story. So let's talk about the RAV right now, since you brought it up. I don't know if there was a bullet hole in it or not. I don't know what to think on that. A problem that I always have that people constantly want to debate is if there's more than one RAV, because some is saying blue and some are saying the RAV was green. I believe there is only one RAV, and I know personally from the last car I had, my car was blue, but it looked black. And it actually was like a blue sparkle. And you would have to, in certain lights, you would be able to see it's this blue sparkly color. So even when I got in trouble, one of the times that I was up at the salvage yard when Earl Avery and Chuck Avery and Carla called the police on me because I had gone into the deer camp because I wanted to show the viewers just how close Cuss Road, as the crow flies, is to the salvage yard. The ticket I was issued said my car was black. My car is not black. When you look at what I get from the dealership, the car is blue. So from the RAV, it's that weird greenish, it's teal. So in some lights and, a flash or whatever, it looks blue, and some it looks green. So I don't go down that conspiracy theory of the 2 RAVs and blah, 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 all that. Now, if something was to come out to show that there was, I wouldn't be shocked by, because everything in this case is suspect. Because once you have the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department planting evidence, everything everything is suspect. So if there is a second RAV that they did for whatever reason, I'd be like, "Okay. Yeah, okay." I just yeah, cat, it's mystic teal. It's gonna change color. So, um, I don't fall down that rabbit hole of this cop said it was blue, but it's really green, or vice versa, or whatever. But what there are new witnesses that you don't see in Making a Murderer. There are new witnesses that saw this RAV4 by this dam, that when you go look at videos, that past videos I've made, I've gone to this dam. Um, so there are people who saw it parked there. This new witness that I can't say, I don't know what I can say, because I guess they've been on YouTube talking everything the girl knows. I was trying to protect her for a while, but I guess, they're on YouTube telling all. That woman claims to have seen the RAV4 at that turnaround, and that she saw Chuck Avery and Bobby Dassey at that RAV. And then we have that other new witness that um, says that they were delivering the newspaper. So it's early in the morning, when it's still dark out, and Bobby Dassey is pushing the RAV4 to the salvage yard, and that there was somebody else with him, that it is unknown who that other person is. But by the description we get, it's nobody we currently suspect on anything, I believe. Oh yeah, Bryce, she said, yeah, there was a body on the ground over there, by the RAV4, and when she drove past it at the time, she just assumed it would be a deer. But then later, with all of this, knowing that's happening, um, now she wonders, if it was Teresa Halbach. So there's so much. The planted evidence that we see in Making a Murderer. Why is Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department allowed anywhere near this crime scene? No excuse they give me works. There's video of it, Bryce, of the body being on the ground in the car. That's the first I'm hearing of that. Interesting. Um, what are the 3 videos of? There's no doubt in my mind. Oh, the chicks meeting with Courtney. Okay, yeah. No, I don't. I'm I do these live videos, but I don't typically go and watch anybody else's videos or anything like that. I just go off of my own investigating and oh, the girl telling her story to Courtney. Okay, yeah. No. I mean, I talked to that girl on the phone a couple different times, and messaging back and forth, and then she sent me some pictures and all that. But at the time when it came to me, like I said, was I just put her in contact with Kathleen Zellner and said, nothing about it because I don't want to say or do anything that could hurt Steven's case. That's my thought on things. So at Stephen Avery Project, we've had witnesses come forward to us over the years, and every time I refer them to Kathleen Zellner, and then I don't say anything on it because, and I don't know if the stuff people tell me are true or not. It's not for me to figure out. That's Kathleen Zellner. So I just, so Kathleen Zellner, if you go to her website, KathleenTZellner.com. She has a page on there just about the Stephen Avery case. And then she's got it listed right on there on how you can contact her. She's got a direct thing just for the Stephen Avery case. So if you're somebody who knows anything about this case, because let's be real, with the way this case has gone, and not just Stephen's case, it is all wrongful convictions, that take typically 15 years to overturn. That in order when they get ruled out, ruled against, they have to get new evidence to try again. So if you're somebody who saw something or knows something and you still haven't come forward, please do contact Kathleen Zellner and tell her what you know. Um, yes, Jen. I don't go live on Facebook because I'm on restriction and Facebook won't allow me to go live there currently. I talked about that at the beginning of this video. So we do face or YouTube lives every Wednesday at 1 Central. So yeah, so find us over here for lives. Um so please contact Kathleen Zellner. I understand you being afraid because look at what happens to people who speak out against the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department and everybody else who is trying to cover up for this crime and many others Manitowoc has done. So everything helps. So whatever you know, please go to Kathleen Zellner. Back to the evidence, the alleged evidence. Steven's trailer is tiny. No, Jen, no new news. Nothing going on with Steven's case currently. The trailer is tiny. There is zero evidence that Teresa Halbach was in that trailer, and there's no evidence that Brendan Dassey was in that trailer. The prosecution tries to say the evidence of her nothing going on with the family either. Okay, Kat, thanks. They try to say an example that Teresa was in Steven's trailer is a copy of the Auto Trader was in there. But when you hear from the other places Teresa went that day to take pictures for the Auto Trader, they all say she handed them a copy of the magazine or whatever you want to call it. Steven calls it a book. So that's not evidence of anything. She handed Steven an Auto Trader and a bill of sale. So tiny trailer, a guy who is by choice living in a junkyard in a trailer that he doesn't even own. He rents it. That trailer is not owned by the Avery family. The land it's on is not owned by the Avery family. It's owned by Raleigh Johnson. So you think this guy is the cleanest person in the world? That, I do this all the time, but it's like, well, you can't see, but I just pulled a hair out. I can anytime I want to, I can pull a hair out of my head. I shed like crazy. They did not find a single Teresa Halbach hair in his trailer. And they looked in the vacuum, and he had a carpet shampooer. Nothing. No Teresa Halbach hairs there. And Steven and Brendan are prosecuted for the same crime, but completely different scenarios. So there is no Brendan Dassey in Steven's case because all they have on Brendan is his coerced confession. Don't even try and tell me he willingly said those things. There is so much that if you truly look into, you will see that Brendan was coerced into saying those things. But now Brendan's immediately takes it back that they got to my head, and he won't testify. So because Brendan won't testify against Steven, they can't use Brendan. Well, they could try, but then that opens up a whole nother thing. So, in Brendan's scenario, Teresa is raped and stabbed and her throat cut, and there's nothing to show that she was there. It's just not possible. I'm sorry. You would find something in that trailer. Yeah, it's the same prosecutor. Sweaty Sweat Sweat, Ken Kratz, who in Steven's trial says there's only one person responsible for this. Just one. But he'd already prosecuted Brendan. Or who got prosecuted first? I don't remember at this time. But still, you're saying in Stevens there's only one, but then you prosecute Brendan for it. You do these multiple searches over many months. Thank you, Kat. And you don't find these things in this teeny tiny little trailer. But then all of a sudden, this key pops out. And you find a magic bullet in the garage that there's dust all over everything in the garage except the bullet. And the bullet has a waxy substance on it as well as something red. Well, you can see the pictures. Steven's garage was red. And you can see in Making a Murderer 2, something I love about Kathleen Zellner of her doing her homework, where she was firing a gun into the trailer or into the garage. And you can see red. And Raleigh Johnson, who owned that property, testified and owned the gun that was hanging above Steven's bed, testified that he used to shoot all over the property. So who's to say that magic bullet isn't one that Raleigh had fired in there? And the waxy substance was most likely chapstick that had some kind of Teresa Halbach DNA on it. Waxy substance. Well, when they take things from Teresa Halbach's home, and you can get the evidence list on that StephenAveryCase.org, you will see they took chapstick from her bedside table, as well as 7 dirty pairs of underwear and sexual devices. So who's to say that chapstick wasn't wiped on to that bullet? Whether not just by the chapstick, or maybe it was a Q-tip, because Q-tip was used to put the blood in the RAV4. That thing by the key, by the ignition, totally is a Q-tip or a cotton swab if you're not supposed to use the brand name. Yes, Steven had a bloody finger, or had a scratch or a cut on his finger that he actually got at the family home up in Crivets when he was repairing a metal roof. How does that finger doing an ignition, how does it hit the dashboard like that to make that swirl? I've yet to see somebody show me how you could physically do that. There's no Steven fingerprints anywhere on the vehicle. He was wearing gloves. Then how is there blood? You can't have it both ways. There's no fingerprints because he had gloves on, but there's his blood in multiple places, allegedly. But yet, the blood that's like on the floor of the car, those are flakes. If he was actively bleeding and the drop lands on the carpet, it then soaks into the carpet fiber. This wasn't soaked into the carpet. This was a flake. So this was old blood. Who planted that? Kathleen Zellner. This is one of the few things that I disagree with her theories. I do not believe Bobby Dassey is the person who planted that blood. I just don't think Bobby Dassey would have been smart enough to see this. So what Steven says is that there was blood from when he cut himself that was on his bathroom sink, and that he hadn't cleaned it up. But then the next day, he notices it was gone. And he had been out the night before with his brother, and he had seen headlights, and one of the back door on the trailers like been pried open. So a theory is that Bobby Dassey went in there and collected that blood. So what you would have to do is use like a moistened Q-tip to get that blood and then do whatever with it. I just don't see Bobby Dassey having the brain power to do that. I wouldn't have thought, not that I'm some genius or idiot either, but I just I I don't know. So nothing's been shown to me that would make me go, yeah, Bobby Dassey planted that blood. I do believe that if Teresa Halbach's disappearance happened from Avery Salvage, then it is Bobby Dassey with an assist from Scott Taddock. But without us having any real forensic evidence, I can't say to 100% certainty. I see it as the cops, or not the cops, I should say the deputies, because it's the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, not the police department. Those are two different entities. It was the Sheriff's Department who had framed Steven for Penny Bernston. So, and they were the ones being deposed. So they are the ones with something to lose. And I think they took advantage of this situation to try and get rid of this $36 million lawsuit. So I think they may not have any clue of what happened because they never looked beyond Steven. And then I think there are others who do that whole thin blue line bullshit or bull smurf. Bull smurf. um, who are just going to follow what their brothers in blue say and just going to believe them. So I could see people, and I also think some of the Hallbach family, if this is Bobby Dassey, because again, let me say, if this is something that happened due to her being at Avery Salvage, then it is Bobby Dassey and Scott Toddick who did it. So what I'm speaking of now is in that instance. I then think that there are some of Teresa's family that were involved with things after the fact. And I believe they were involved because they were told they're never going to be able to get Steven for this due to that first suit. So they were desperate because they believe the police. They have no reason to doubt law enforcement in saying that this is where the evidence points. And they want who hurt their loved one brought to justice. So that's how I think they're able to get a key into her voicemail, miscellaneous things. I think Ryan Hilgas, Ryan, um, Scott Blodorn, and her brother, Mike Hallbach. There you go. Are involved in that. And that's why it's also, they should be going to Kathleen Zellner and admitting what they did. Because what justice is that for Teresa? That it is then not known what happened to her. And that whoever did whatever to her is still out there and could be doing it to how many others? True supporters of Steven Avery are the ones who want justice for Teresa Halbach. People will say, we only care about Steven, and the true victim, Teresa Halbach, is forgotten. No, we are the ones who want justice for Teresa Halbach. Pam of God. So that's another video that you can find here that I've done a couple of different times. I have walked that path that Pam Sturm claims she was able to find that RAV4 in 20 minutes. There is no possible way that she is able to find the vehicle that fast without being told where to go. It makes perfect sense for a search party to go there, since it is one of her scheduled appointments for the last day she was allegedly seen. But Pam Sturm gets there late. The search party, everybody else is gone, have been assigned where to go. Why is she then given that area? Why isn't somebody else already looking there? Why is she the only one provided with a camera and a direct line to the sheriff? She claims to be a former private investigator, yet she didn't know where you could find a VIN number in a vehicle. And then she wanted to open the door and touch it. How are you a former private eye? Why are you going to touch this vehicle? And the path she took is not what somebody would do realistically. That you're just gonna walk to this one corner like that, and she doesn't say that, "Oh, I'm gonna go walk to this one corner and then start from there." She's claiming she's looking in cars, and she's also claiming that she's scared and that, um, she was looking in vehicles because she doesn't know if maybe she would find Teresa's body. It's Schitt's Creek. I love that show. Um, so there's no way she was able to find that vehicle in that period of time. Just not without being told where to go. That's first. Then the way that car was parked and camouflaged. Nobody who lived and worked at that salvage yard would have parked that vehicle like that because everything about it was making it stick out. If you walk into a salvage yard, you're just going to see it as a mess of, that it's all this junk. But there was a method to the madness of how cars were parked. So these kinds of vehicles were here and these kinds of vehicles were there. So where Teresa's RAV4 was parked is not matching where other similar cars like that would be parked. Then it is double parked and going in opposite direction. And then it has things on it. Everything to make that vehicle stick out. And where this little road is on the property, so it is the farthest away right before the quarry behind it. And so there's trees. And so this road, and you can see it in my videos that I've done there, and then also pictures I took from there. There's also a pond, so it's a pond, the little road, the little berm, and the quarry right behind it. First thing, that pond. Now, if you've been raised there and lived there and worked there your entire life, you know that pond is deep enough that they could have put that vehicle in there and nobody would see it. But it's not there. Instead, it's done in such a way that it's making it stick out. Then there was also a way that you could drive into the salvage yard from the quarry right behind it. I have driven through that quarry. There are many trees, tall, tall trees that you could actually drive a car underneath this tree and nobody would see it. So, why are you going to put this vehicle on your own property when you could put it anywhere else? Now, they're claiming that Steven just needed to put it somewhere temporarily so he couldn't get caught and then he would get rid of it later, right? So then you have the whole instance also of the car crusher. The Avery family did not own a car crusher. They would get it from somebody else and use it for whenever they needed it. The car crusher was there. One of the times that I visited up there, one of the Avery family told me if you wanted to get rid of a car, what you would do is you would crush it. So you would crush it down to whatever size that is, and then you would take that crushed thing and put it inside another car and then crush that. Why wouldn't Steven have done that? Well, again, they'll try to say, well, Steven didn't have the opportunity. People would be around and it would look suspicious. Okay, so say that's the case. Well, that very weekend after Teresa Halbach goes missing, the family goes to Crivets, their vacation property in northern Wisconsin, and Steven goes. Brendan goes. Why wouldn't Steven take that opportunity that nobody's going to be at the salvage yard, and that's when he would crush the car? So Steven, who has committed this crime and knows that there's evidence that would connect him to the crime, goes out of town. He doesn't flee the country. He doesn't go into hiding. He goes to their vacation property in Crivets that they've had for how many years, that everybody, and that's where they went and talked to him. So it's known he's there. He's not fleeing. He's not running. So Steven, low IQ, but just because you have a low IQ doesn't mean you're a complete imbecile. Steven's not going to leave a car there and then go out of town for the weekend when he knows then all his family's going to be gone and the salvage yard isn't open. Somebody else put that RAV4 there. Who? Was it law enforcement? Was it Bobby Dassey? The evidence points away from Steven. Common sense points away from Steven, not to him. Nothing they have points to Steven Avery. Steven has consistently behaved like an innocent person. He has always maintained his innocence. His story always remains the same. Except for originally, when first questioned, he wasn't sure what night he had a fire. I don't know what I did yesterday. When you live in the area that Steven Avery lived in, you don't have a regular garbage pickup. Garbage truck doesn't come to your house. You have to take your stuff to the dump, which is something us fibs, as Wisconsin people will call us in Illinois, which stands for fucking Illinois bastards. When us Illinois people go up there on our vacations and give you all our vacation money, one of the things we'll do is go to a dump because then you can watch the bears. So it's exciting for us to go to a dump and see the bears. But for people who lived like the Avery family, it's a chore. And so you don't want to go to the dump every freaking day. So you have a burning barrel, multiple burning barrels, and you burn whatever you can. So you're going to have a lot of fires. Did I have a fire that night? I didn't have a fire that night. Did I have a fire that night? So to me, that doesn't point to him trying to cover anything. That's just, again, common sense to go, they have fires all the time. I'm not sure if I had a fire that night. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But to try and say that Steven is able to put a body on a bonfire and for it to burn that fast in the middle of the day at a working business, that's just not possible. True, Bryce. So, yeah, it was just any other Monday to him. He lost his kids due to Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department framing him for the Penny Bernstein case. That his ex-wife, who married Brendan Dassey's father, has poisoned her children against their father, and they had no contact with him. So he's not thinking of Halloween. So it's just any other Monday to him. So when you're asking him on Thursday, did he have a fire on Monday? He's like, was that Monday? Was that Sunday? So that doesn't point to guilt to me, that is the only thing that Steven hasn't been consistent on, because he has consistently said the same things all these years. And it's easy to remember the truth because it's what happened. Brendan Dassey's confession changes and changes and changes. Punched her, cut her hair. I'm just going to come out and say this. Who shot her in the head? He did. Why didn't you tell us that before? Couldn't think of it. From my times in talking to Brendan Dassey, this is a sweet kid that can't hurt a fly. He is not going to be able to rape a woman and be part of her murder. Exactly, Kimmy. Excellent point. Don't remember unimportant things. When you're regularly burning things, it's just a common chore. There is no way Brendan Dassey that he, gonna get a little graphic here, is going to be able to get an erection and rape a woman. And his uncle right there yelling at him. Turn off, fan. Even though I'll probably just get warm again as soon as I turned it off. So his uncle would be yelling at him, because now, don't get me wrong on the things in me declaring Steven's innocence. I am also not saying he's a saint. Steven can be a prick. He's not perfect. He can, say mean things. So do I. So I'm not faulting Steven for being a dick, and then look at his life and what's been done to him. Um so if this is happening the way they're making Brendan say, Steven then would have been hooping and hollering and saying whatever. There's no way Brendan could perform. There's also just no way Brendan is going to be part of harming anyone. And they'll try to say, there's the whole thing of his cousin saying he was crying and had lost weight and blah, 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 and that he's like confessing whatever. That chick was just lying. Point blank in the period. Girl was seeking her own attention, and she lied about Brendan. We see her in Making a Murderer, then when they try to get her to testify, she takes that back too, and says that Brendan didn't say that to her. If this had happened, what they're claiming, what they used against Brendan to prosecute him and saying he lost this weight blah, blah, blah. No, that truly would have happened. Brendan would have been beside himself if he had witnessed this alleged crime. There's no way Brendan could have lived with it, and he would have told his mom. His mom is Brendan's everything, which is sad to say because the feeling's not mutual. His mom is, but I'm not gonna get into that. I'm already an hour and 10 minutes into this video, and I try to keep them only about an hour. Um, so s and Brendan absolutely, if this had happened, he would have told Laura Nyrider. Laura Nyrider is one of his attorneys who, that is one of my most favorite scenes in Making a Murderer is, um oh god, see, and now I start to tear up. Um, so it's during Brendan's trial, and he's sitting at the table, and then Laura Nyrider comes and sits next to him, and Brendan gets that smile on his face that is just a pure, loving smile. And I love that so much because knowing what has been done to Brendan and that he doesn't get the family support that he should, to see l to for Laura Nyrider to make him feel like that even for a moment is everything to me, because that kid deserves that and more. And so if Brendan had done these things, he would have confessed to Laura Nyrider, and then different things would have happened. And there are so many alleged supporters. Brendan is surrounded by people who really aren't for his best interest. And so Brendan talks to people and gets visits by people that if Brendan had done this, because he believes these people, love him and he loves them, he would have told them, and those people would have told, and that hasn't happened. So, there is nothing, 0, absolutely nothing other than this coerced confession that Brendan was interrogated many times without cameras rolling, and it was legal at that time, or still is, to talk to a child without parents' knowledge or consent. And then we just know of cases as well where people have even asked for a lawyer and they won't give it to you. So you have to, if you learn nothing else from Making a Murderer or from this video, if you are questioned by the police, even if you know there's absolutely no evidence, no proof, I did not do this, you don't talk. Don't talk. And if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you or appointed to you. They work for the state, and not everybody who's a public defender truly cares about defending the public. They just want to help close a case for the state, like what Len Kaczynski did to Brendan. So that brings us to Stephen's phrase, poor people lose. Poor people lose all the time. So unless you're OJ Simpson and can get yourself a good attorney so you can get away with murder, state's gonna get you, and OJ's guilty. That's for another day. That's on our schedule of events. We will cover OJ Simpson case at some point. So, as I've already gone over the hour, I really need to wrap this up because I could go on and on and on about this case. And I have s- done it so many times over the years. So there's many other videos you can go to. Um I do have Steven so I have a whole schedule of what we're going to be covering every Wednesday. It is posted on the Justice with Jax Facebook page. So if you go to that, you'll see what we're going to cover when. And so I do have Steven listed as the first one we talk about in July because July is Steven's birthday and also will be the year anniversary of his mom's death. So I will rant about that whole thing then. And as the days go on, if anything new happens in Stephen's case, then we will do a special video outside of the Wednesday at 1 to cover if there's been a date set on Stephen's case, if there's any filings to read and go over, will, so that will be outside of the Wednesdays at 1 that we do. So go to the Justice with Jax Facebook page and you can look at our schedule. And then I always, when I end a video on Wednesday, I make one for next week. Um, so when Christopher, one of the moderators, makes the events for it on Facebook and everything, it has the link to watch the next week's video. Oh yeah, let me know, Kat, if anything happens there. Yeah, and we'll talk about that too. We'll make a new one for that. Um, so Christopher also is going to be putting up on our Facebook page because there's always homework to get ready for the next week's event. So next week is the Betty Broderick case. I'm trying to pull up the message from Christopher now. Um Christopher is very familiar with the case. I've only seen, and it was a while ago that I saw it, and I'm planning on watching these things that Christopher sent me today when I'm done with this live. I'll watch and take notes on it. But I had only watched one thing that was on Netflix called Dirty Betty or something like that. Um, but Christopher is saying there's two Lifetime movies to watch. Um, okay, and he says she's got a book called Telling on Myself. And then he says the most accurate movies are called, there's one called Her Final Fury and A Woman Scorned. Thank you, Bryce. Dirty John, the Betty Broderick story. And then he had also sent me the link to the one on YouTube, the Woman Scorned Betty Broderick. Let me click on that and put that here if that works and helps you all. Um, right. Yeah, that's what he said. They both have Meredith Baxter as Betty. So that is going to be the case that we will talk about next week. And before we even get into that, oh, you just watched both. Um, so while Steven is somebody who is in prison for murder, and I believe he is innocent, not all the cases we do are wrongful convictions. Some of them, like Betty Broderick and OJ Simpson, are guilty. So it's true crime. And then also injustices that we covered. So it's not just wrongful convictions. But so you need to stay tuned on our Justice with Jack's Facebook page that Christopher will be posting homework each week too to help people on what to find. And then I also have pinned on the page the schedule for the whole year because I planned out the whole year of the cases we're going to cover. So you can jump ahead in your homework if you want. And then to close this out, something I was thinking of, um, and I'll have to discuss this with Christopher more because as I was in the shower prior to going live here, and you think about things, and Christopher is always, you need to get more subscribers, you need to get more subscribers. Um, so what if we did some kind of subscriber contest where every week I would pick a subscriber. So not somebody who's just commenting, somebody who actually subscribes that I just draw randomly from the names, and there would be a prize. So we've got these tons of stickers that I could do a sticker prize pack. Um that would get mailed out to the subscriber of the week. And then we also have some autographed books. Ooh, I also have, which we'll be covering, is in the schedule for one week, the Marnie Yang case. I've got autographed Marnie Yang books. Um, so maybe we're going to start doing a weekly subscriber sweepstakes or lottery, whatever you want to call it, to try and remind people subscribe to this channel. And then I would announce each week at the end of the video who won for the week. And then they would have to email me at justicewithjax@gmail.com to send me their address to send them their prize. And then I guess there would have to be a time limit. You've got 24 hours from the live to notify me because it's not going to be where these things are going to just stack up. And then a year later, somebody's going to say, hey, I won on such and such. So something I thought of, but I haven't fleshed out. So just maybe an idea to try and get some subscribers on here. So that's Making a Murderer for today. We will talk about Steven in the beginning of July. And next week, our Wednesday at 1 is the Betty Broderick case. So make sure you do your homework in the next week on the Betty Broderick case so we can discuss that one together. And now I'm out of here to go watch those Lifetime movies. Investigation continues. See you next week.